Iron oxide is relentless. We spend billions of dollars every year trying to stop it from consuming our bridges, our cars, and our infrastructure. But this chemical reaction, the one we've fought for centuries, is the electrochemical foundation of a new kind of battery. Solar panels and wind turbines are excellent at generating cheap electricity, but they suffer from one persistent issue: intermittency. When power grids face multi-day weather lulls, they hit a wall. Engineers call this the 100-hour problem, a massive gap in power generation that can stretch across days or even weeks of dark, still weather. To bridge a gap that long, the grid needs to store thousands of megawatts and sit on them for days at a time. Without that specific capacity, a grid reliant solely on wind and solar cannot maintain a constant, reliable supply of power. Our current solution is the lithium-ion battery. These installations act like sprinters. They are optimized to catch a quick spike of solar power at noon and discharge it when everyone turns on their lights at 7 p.m., but they typically tap out after 4 to 8 hours. Staking the grid on an 8-hour technology to cover a 100-hour weather event is a financial non-starter. Stacking enough lithium-ion batteries to power a city for 4 days would double or triple the capital costs of a local utility. Then there is also the material bottleneck. Scaling up the extraction of cobalt, nickel, and lithium to a global grid level creates massive ecological scars and leaves supply chains vulnerable. To permanently replace fossil fuels, we need to stop building expensive sprinters. We need a cheap, heavy marathon runner. That runner takes the form of the iron-air battery. It isn't a sleek piece of consumer electronics. It's essentially a modular box, roughly the size of a washing machine, packed with iron plates and a water-based electrolyte. The process works through a cycle of oxidation. When the grid needs power, the battery breathes in oxygen from the ambient air. This oxygen reacts with the iron plates to form rust, a chemical reaction that releases a pulse of electrons. When there is excess wind or solar power, the grid pushes electricity back into the rusted plates. This strips the oxygen away, converting the rust back into pure iron and exhaling the oxygen back out into the atmosphere. Because it uses a stable, water-based electrolyte, this cycle can be routined thousands of times. There are no flammable organic solvents inside, which removes the risk of the thermal runaway fires common in other chemistries. By controlling the way a simple block of metal decays, engineers have created a massive, ultra-safe energy vault. This technology does have drawbacks. These batteries are extraordinarily heavy, and they charge and discharge very slowly. The biggest technical hurdle is the round-trip efficiency. If you put 100 units of energy into a lithium-ion battery, you get about 90 units back. With an iron-air system, you only get about 50 units back out. That missing 50% is lost to heat during the chemical conversion. Half of the solar or wind energy you put in simply bleeds off into the air. But in a world of abundant renewables, that loss is manageable because the core materials, iron, water, and air, are practically free. This puts the active material cost at less than $1 per kilowatt hour. When your fuel is the most abundant metal on Earth, poor efficiency matters less than the ability to sustain power for 100 hours at a fraction of the cost. This technology is already being deployed at scale. One US-based startup is currently constructing an 8,500 megawatt-hour iron-air system, one of the largest energy storage projects in history. These batteries are designed to replace natural gas peaker plants. These are the expensive, carbon-heavy facilities that utilities fire up only when demand is at its absolute highest. For the consumer, this means a more stable grid. It provides a buffer that can keep the lights on during extreme weather events without relying on the volatility of fossil fuel prices. Long-duration storage is the final requirement for a decarbonized grid. It takes intermittent wind and solar and turns them into a reliable, permanent source of baseload power. That reliable power is needed now more than ever, as the boom in artificial intelligence and hyperscale computing creates a massive 24/7 demand for electricity. Recently, the data center developer Crusoe signed a deal to deploy 12 gigawatt-hours of iron-air batteries by 2027. By co-locating these long-duration batteries next to computing hubs, these facilities can operate off-grid. They can run on local solar and wind without drawing power away from the rest of the community or derailing climate goals. The digital world of artificial intelligence requires a constant, massive energy supply, and it will likely continue to grow because it is being supported by heavy, breathing boxes of wet rust.